So you probably heard that the art of selling and knowing how to sell is the most important skill you can learn in your journey as a human being, regardless of if you're in a 9-to-5, you're a laborer, or you're starting your own business. Well, unknowingly, I've actually accumulated over 10 years worth of experience in sales, whether it be doing an apprenticeship when I was in school very shortly for BT, selling landline services, to working for Samsung within Currys and basically guiding people to buy their TVs, to working as a personal trainer on the gym floor for many years, to then going online and selling my online coaching program. First thing I was selling for myself, apart from the personal training, and then, going on to hit 6 figures and multi 6 figures in online businesses. In this time, I've probably gotten 1,000+ sales calls, and I've been able to get very good very quickly. So what I've done is I've boiled down the top 5 things that actually will get somebody from not having a clue how to sell to knowing exactly how to sell and actually being one of the top percentage of closers and salespeople. All right. And I've got a bonus one as well. That's really for the top 1 to 5% of people who are getting above industry average closing rates. All right. So you stay tuned. I'm going to go through it and we're going to make sure that you're closing like a pro. So number 1 is a pro tip. I learned this from a mentor of mine previously. Doing your due diligence before the call. Let me set the picture here. If you've ever done any type of public speaking, it can be a bit daunting when you're talking in front of 10, 20, 50, 100+ people who you've never met before in your life. And I've had the opportunity to speak in front of people many times before. What I do and the tool I use is I will interact with the audience. I might ask some of them, find out what their names are. I might find out a little bit of information about them. The reason this is helpful is if I feel like I know someone, it's a lot less frightening than feeling like I'm talking to a bunch of strangers. This is the exact same thing that happens at a micro scale when you're on a sales call. If all you know is that you've had 1-2 conversations with this person in a DM, or worse yet, somebody else booked this person in and you're just seeing them for the first time, you're creating an extra level of friction because you've never met this person and you have no clue about them. It really helps when you can do a little bit of research. For example, when we used to get leads on LinkedIn, I would Google the person's name and find out a bit about them and see if they had a Facebook page or something that was a bit more open to where I could understand them a bit more. I might go through their About Us section on LinkedIn and look at some of their, where they went to school and so on and so forth. And this will just give me some context that I can bring to the call, and it will allow me to sell with more confidence and also break that barrier of low trust quicker, because it's all about building trust. Another reason this is important is it might sound like counterintuitive or odd, but no call is better than a pointless call. Now, this has changed, and a lot of people would have said different years ago. I was taught different, get the reps in, they'll say, get the reps in. It's good for practice. Yeah, that's all cool till you've made your first 5 sales or so. After that, you don't need to be practicing on pointless calls. You see, the reason is jumping on sales calls, making sales is all about having a high level of energy and confidence in your product. When you're talking to the wrong people who can no way on earth be able to afford your program or product, they don't even really respect your service and think it's overpriced, this can knock your confidence a little bit. All right. It's okay if it happens a few times every so often by accident, but you want to limit the amount of times that this happens. So by doing your due diligence, your research before the call, and making sure this prospect is worthy of jumping on a call with you, you're going to limit the amount of times you jump on pointless calls, which is very important. Now, lastly, on this topic of doing your due diligence before the call, doing your homework before the call presents an image of professionalism. Okay. If you go to, some sort of sales arena, maybe it's a used car, maybe you're getting a car, or you're getting a house, and, the person who you're speaking to is like, oh yeah, I saw your form, and, I heard this isn't your first house, or, I know you was living in London before you've moved out, or all these little things just lets you know and understand that this person you're dealing with is quite professional. They've done some due diligence, they know their homework, and they haven't just arrived at the time of this deal looking to just take as much money as possible from you, all right? So that little bit of professionalism can go a long way in building the trust that you are the person they should be speaking to. The next very important thing is to understand the customer's needs. Most people go onto the call very focused on what they want to sell. All right. Most people go onto a call or the sales appointment super focused on what they want to sell. And that's where they miss the mark, because you're super focused on the product that you want to sell, the price range you want to get, how much you want to take from this call. And it's good to be ambitious and want to hit your targets, but you have to know that you cannot change anything about what that customer actually needs. Okay. So the important thing is to understand what those needs actually are and find out if they even qualify for your product, even if it's even a right fit. And if it is, then you need to match the specific needs they have with what you have to sell. You need to sell to their needs and not your assumptions. What do I mean by this? Let's say we're selling weight loss, right? We're selling an online weight loss package, and you're speaking to somebody who's a guy, maybe they're in their 30s, and you're talking to them about losing weight. There could be another guy you're talking to who wants to lose the weight for the reason of being confident. They go on holiday a lot and they would like to be able to take off their top on holiday, take off their top on the beach, wear slim fit clothing, maybe wear a vest or two every so often, right? That's that person's individual want. But the person you're talking to on the call, they may just want to lose weight because they want to be more athletic. Maybe they want to be more agile, and maybe they've got kids, young kids that are going to grow up one day and they want to be able to keep up with them as they do. They could be more focused on longevity. The mistake that a lot of people make is because they don't listen and understand the person's needs, they will be selling to them as if they are the person A who wants to lose weight for the reason of confidence. And they will use objection breaks and terminology and analogies based on that whole confidence aspect. Whereas if you was listening and paying enough attention, you would be talking more about longevity and how your program can help them to, be more athletic and keep the weight off, and also move around and be able to do it for the long run to hit with their kids. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. One of my favorite online coaching clients of all times, who he's on the screen right now, he had an amazing transformation. I followed up with him a bunch of times, right? It probably took like 5+ follow-ups just to get him on a call. Even after that first call, we had to have a second part call because he didn't make the decision then. And on that second call, he was very close again to not making a decision and going the other way with it, right? And then something switched. I had mentioned something to do with his kids and making them proud. And he literally said to me, "You got me there, Mike," right? That was literally his number one motivation, his number one driver. And the biggest thing for him would be if he could get in shape, give his kids a greater role model, be able to even do stuff with them, then that would truly make him happy. He wasn't caring about all the bodybuilding and the physique and looking amazing and taking his top off. Don't get me wrong, later down the line, as he got the result, he did get into those things. But the highlight for him, and what actually made me close the sale, was the fact that I hit the nail on the head with what he wanted, which was the longevity for his kids. All right, make sure you understand their needs. This next point is super important. But listen, if you're enjoying this video, what I need you to do is find the button below me somewhere to subscribe. Okay, we're giving value each and every day. We're giving out tons of value each and every week, and you don't want to miss it. Back to it. Believe in your product, and specifically believe in your product's ability to get a great result for the client. What's important is when you start out, you may not really understand the product that much if you're, selling for somebody else, which you should really focus on learning first and foremost. Or maybe this is your own business, your own product, and you haven't got that many results yet to prove it. The chances are that if you're in that business, if you're selling this product, someone else is doing it, and that's the reason you or your company believes that it's worth putting in the time and effort to sell it yourselves. So the concept has been proven by someone else, even if it's not by you. Take an online coaching program package, for instance. Tons of people around the world, if not probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, have had online coaches before and I've gotten amazing results with them, all right? Just me, myself, I've probably got close to 20 plus really banging transformations for people, and I've had so many other people see really good results. So what you can do is borrow confidence from other people. Go and see other coaches, business owners, or other people who are delivering the result that you're selling to your customers, and borrow that confidence and use that to sell with confidence. You need to sell with confidence. If you don't believe in your product, if you don't believe in it, there's no magic trick, there's no sort of sales training that's going to make you sell with enough enthusiasm to actually get these sales and to get these and to have success. So you need to, one, understand the products, and you need to be confident in the product's ability to get the result. When you have that confidence, what that's going to allow you to do is to talk to them like it's a no-brainer. You have to be able to talk to them like it doesn't make sense to not even go for this right now. It's a sure thing. When I'm talking to people, when I'm selling things, it's like, this is the number one thing you should be focused on right now. This is the number one product for you. Forget about the price. The price isn't even irrelevant. If you can afford it, that's the main thing, but not even relevant. This is the number one thing for you. And you have to have that level of confidence, okay? And that comes with doing the other steps before, doing your due diligence, understanding the client's needs. And once you've passed those two barriers, then it should be a no-brainer. If they qualify for this product, it should be a no-brainer for them to sell. But you have to sell and borrow that confidence from other people if you need it to at the start. And then you actually need to borrow that confidence to them. The problem is when you're selling any type of result, whether it's a business to get more leads, or was this a person to lose body fat, or is someone to have a car, a lot of the times people lack the confidence or the belief that they are that person that can achieve that result. Whether it's they are that person who can afford to have this amazing car, or they are that person who can actually achieve an amazing body transformation, or whether they are that person that can actually create a really successful business. A lot of people lack that self-belief, and it takes you as the person selling to sow that belief onto them by talking to them again like it's a sure thing, showing them that. Funnier story, that client that I talked about in a previous point, I actually could see he was lacking that confidence, and actually brought to that second call, cut out image at the time. There wasn't no AI or as much AI to use at the time, but I literally just cut out a picture of him over a picture of a body, a physique that was the body fat percentage that he was essentially aiming for, he would have loved to achieve, right? I literally cut that out and put it in, and because I wanted him to visually see what he would achieve. It was a little joke, it was funny as well, bro, gave us some humor, but at the same time, it was me just showing him the confidence of like, this is what you're going to achieve. And lo and behold, he actually went to go and do that. The next tip is powerful, kind of correlates a little bit with the one before, and that is your energy. Okay, I see so many closers wanting to sell and trying to sell like this. Yeah, how you doing, mate? This is John speaking. Yeah. You're not gonna sell nobody like that, mate, right? Your closing rate will always suck if your energy is poor. Okay, there's been so many different quotes on this of like, you know, the person with the highest energy wins and so on and so forth. All I know is that, you know, you're not gonna con anyone out of their money. That's not the type of sales we teach, and you have to go through the other steps before. You have to make sure it's a right fit. But if it is a right fit, you can make sure your closing rate is super high for qualified calls and qualified appointments if your energy is high. And only if your energy is high are you able to sow that belief into them and so on, as we mentioned before. The key thing as well, the simple way to fix this is to just project your voice a little bit. Smile whilst you're talking. This is something I always make sure I do, because when I'm on sales calls, there's times where I'm just naturally have a bit of a serious face, and I remind myself to just smile, and as you do it more, it becomes a learned habit and you're able to do it more naturally, right? But you got to smile because that affects how you speak. As you can see, when I'm smiling, I talk a bit differently. Project your voice, right? Use your diaphragm, not just like relaxing and talking in this low energy. And also a very good tip for someone who's just starting out and you've got calls and appointments, if you're doing it via Zoom, is to take some standing calls. Get a little standing desk. You don't have to get a full-blown desk if you can't afford it. You can actually, when I was selling, I actually had one that just sat on top of my desk, and it was like a wooden elevator sort of elevation sort of product for my laptop, right? Taking those calls standing was a really good thing for me because it just forced me to really project my voice, really bring that energy, and it worked. Okay, so project your voice and stand up if you have to. Next is like on that topic also, how you sort and or arrange your day around your sales appointments is so important, especially within that last 30 minutes to an hour before you jump on a call. So many people will jump on calls and do their selling after, having maybe worked out or, had a long day at work or done so many other things, and then that energy transmutes into their calls, right? You need to create a great environment and a great ritual for before you're taking your calls, all right? Affirmations and just reminding yourself that you are a great closer, you are going to sell, you're great at what you do, your product is great. Midday breaks, this is so important because, as it says in the book Atomic Habits, and the one thing also, we're not just, count like evergreen energy burning. bunnies. We do drain, our energy drains, and it's good to step away from the desk, step away from the office, step away from the work floor, and just go out and take little breaks. Go out and have a walk and recharge yourself, because you're going to bring better energy to your call. And also, testimonial ritual. Having a testimonial ritual is powerful. All this means is that whatever your products and services, the result that you've got, as soon as you start getting a good few results of people that are really happy with the service, you need to have some sort of folder, some sort of swipe file document that you can use to look at before you jump on any type of sales call, to remind you of the results you're getting for people, so that when you speak to this person, you're full of energy, you believe in it, and you can really sell with confidence. Another thing is, in terms of energy, is you need to keep your call volume and your product quality high, because these things give you the confidence to have high energy when you jump on a call. You can't fake energy. You know you barely have any calls coming in, and you know that your product quality is not great. Those are two things that are really going to affect your mentality going into the sales call. If you have a problem with either the product quality or the call volume, check our channel out. I'm sure there's a video that can help you with either of those. So the last penultimate step before the bonus tip is, do not panic or switch up over objections. Listen, this is where most people go wrong, right? You can string together a line of questions, you can build a bit of rapport, but the minute you actually say the price and you know, string up all the courage to do that, and then the person says they don't want to do it, or they have to think about it, or it's a bit too expensive, you throw it all out the window because you get frustrated, you panic, and you start going back and forth, bartering them, and, you know, it turns to a dogfight. You don't want to do this, all right? You have to understand that when people say no, they can't afford it, or they need to think about it, they don't hate you, all right? It's either money, like they literally don't have the amount that you just stated, logistics, maybe like they're going on holiday, or, you know, maybe they've got an injury at the moment so they can't do the training, or maybe they're like, you know, their business is going through a transition phase, right? Or they're not a good fit. They're just not a good fit. They can feel it. You can probably feel it too. There you go. So it's usually one of those three things, but it's never a personal, they hate you, they hate your product sort of situation. Okay. So don't take it personally. You're 10 times more likely to save the sale if you don't burn the bridge. Okay. And this is where the bonus tip is really going to help you. So I'm going to go over in a minute, but essentially we used to have this American style of selling that we was taught to by one of our mentors. And it was really aggressive. It was really like, if you don't make the decision now, then you never get this chance again, and blah, 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 blah. Right. And the problem was, it was kind of promoting that idea of burning the bridge after the call. But here's the thing, not everybody's going to buy from you. So if you take 100 calls in a year and 40 people buy and 60 people don't, do we really want to burn a bridge with all those 60 people? No, of course we don't. We can downsell them after the call, potentially get them to buy a lower ticket product. We can potentially get them in 2 months' time when we've checked up on them and they haven't still seen the results. And it's like, okay, how are you getting on? And next minute, you know, they're back on the call and they're working with us. So you don't ever want it to get too confrontational and too negative to the point where you burn the bridge, because it will affect the business and the numbers in the long run. So this is why it's very important to just be patient, breathe, take your time. And this is why we always promote, you to have pauses. A lot of people, feel like they need to fill in every single gap in a sales call. So like, let's say I'm talking to you and you say to me, yeah, you know what, Michael, I'm just going to need to think about it. I'm going to need to think about it. It's a lot of money. I need to think about it. What the average salesperson and closer will do is lose their head and just think, oh, so what do you need to talk about? Yeah, what do you mean about that? Yeah, the money, what do you mean? But I know you mean the money, but you see, and it just becomes combative really, really quickly. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is take little pauses. So, if you said that to me, I would say, okay, I get what you mean. Listen, it is a good investment. It's not a cheap program. Of course it wouldn't be, we don't sell cheap stuff. I mean, can I ask you something before you go and think about it? They will probably say yes. And then you have time. All right. Pausing in between your sentences and your words is a number one hack for having time. I was telling our clients the other day that, I'll do these sales call role plays and I'm looking like, Casanova with the words. I'm smooth and I've always got a combat and an objection break. But what people don't realize is there's a lot of times where my mind goes blank, right? I might get distracted or I might, lose my trail of thought. I might ask a question that kind of leads to a dead end. So there's so many times where I could just crash out. But because I am okay with pausing, taking a breath, stepping back, mirroring what they said. Okay, so you said you need to think about it. I use these little opportunities to think. about what I'm going to say and be able to, say the right thing versus the wrong thing. The right thing is to ask them questions that invoke them into thinking about what I want them to think about. If they're saying they want to think about, I say, that's all cool, but do you feel like, if you go away and think about it, you're not really going to have the answers in front of you if any questions come to mind? So do you think it would be okay if we could have a discussion about what it is you want to think about now, just to make sure you've got as much information as possible, right? That's the right thing to say versus, yeah, but what do you want to think about? Yeah, no, I know you want to think, but the money, I know you said it's a lot, but as soon as you start talking fast like that, you're doing something wrong already. Okay. So the last point about energy, not panicking, is that you're going to need that positive energy for the next lead. And you have to have that abundance mentality that there's always more leads. There's always going to be more sales out there. All right. We don't want to throw away good leads or missed opportunity or not try and break the objections, but there's going to be other people out there. So if you panic and you start, having this negative mood and then it turns into this negative encounter that ends badly, then guess what? Now you're going to be, in a bad mood going to the next call because they're going to be pissed off. They might say something, you might say something, and then now going into the next call, you're frustrated. Now you don't even want to jump on. The idea of another call is annoying. You're kind of got a resistance towards sales calls now because you think that any sales call you can get on will end up like that. And I remember those times where, imagine having a booked out calendar of leads that you could potentially sell to, but the number one problem is you don't even want to actually jump on these calls because you feel like every call is going to turn into World War III, or has the potential to turn into, some real combative situation. Okay. So that is not switching up. That's the final point. But before we finish, as promised, I'm going to go over the bonus tip, a really high level skill. So let's get into it. So the magic tip that I've been hiding from you is this: ethical confrontation. So ethical confrontation is basically a terminology that I, came up with that just expresses something I learned from every good salesperson I've seen on a one-to-one sales call, appointment, or selling anything, right? They are extremely confrontational. All right. But the key and important thing to understand is that they do it in the right way. And that's why I called it ethical confrontation. The confrontation that I spoke of beforehand, when someone doesn't want to buy or says they want to think about it, and you start going back at them, what do you mean you want to think about it? And what do you mean? And I'll slap you. Yeah, that's not the one that you want to do, right? That's non-ethical confrontation. It's not going to lead anywhere great. But ethical confrontation is essentially good coaching. Okay. It's good leadership. We talk about leadership. We think of people like Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager of, the greatest football club in the world. Not anymore so much, but, Manchester United. And he's a real renowned coach. Like, competitors, other fans around the globe, they all know and see Sir Alex Ferguson as one of the best that ever done it. And the thing with Fergie was that he's known for being very confrontational. He's not backing down from anything. He would get rid of the best players if they weren't following the way of things being done, and, people who weren't performing. And, he had combat. There's an instance where he threw a boot and it hit David Beckham and cut his face. Like, he was very, upfront confrontation about what he'd done. But because everyone could see he was still a good person and he wasn't doing it for a negative way and then a negative reason, he was allowed. No one bats an eyelid. No one sees it as a bad thing. We see that as a great thing. We see that as someone that's doing what needs to be done. So on a sales call, on a sales appointment, it is your duty to be honest and raw with the person. It can be a superpower, and it's one that all the best salespeople in the world use, right? So what do I mean by this? I mean, look at it. You jump on a call, you start talking, building rapport, you start asking them some questions, and something comes up, right? And this something is what? A red flag. And maybe it's something about, them mentioning their partner and, I'll need to talk to them, and they let it slip that they might need to talk to their partner, right? Cool. So what most salespeople, the average salespeople will do is they'll hear it, they'll feel a bit squirmish inside, feel something in their belly, and then they'll just avoid it. All right. They'll just go around it like a pothole and they won't actually address that situation until the end of the call, when they ask them to sign up or they, tell them the price, and the person inevitably says, yeah, but it sounds great, but I'm going to need to talk to my partner about that. And then because at the end of the call, you just spent 40 minutes, your tolerance levels are all the way down, right? Because you just spent 40 minutes. you've built up this, expectation, that you was thinking that they was going to go for it. And now all of a sudden, you know that they're trying to go and they're trying to leave, and you completely bottle it, and you're unable to do ethical confrontation because your tolerance has gone down. So now it's a bit more aggressive, and you turn to the person that I said before, where you're saying, what do you mean you want to talk about it? And there's no real patience in you speaking about it, right? Versus ethical confrontation. In the instance of you using this, what you would do is early on in that call, when that objection came up, you would confront it. You would say, oh, okay, you got a partner, right? And that might have been the clue. They've got a partner, or they're married, or so on and so forth. Say, okay, you're married. Oh, I didn't even know that. It wasn't in the formal, you didn't mention it. How long have you been married? And they'll tell you how long, 5 years, whatever. And you say, okay, cool. Do they know you're on a call? Yeah, they know that I'm on a call. Well, they don't know I'm on a call, whatever. And what you would do is you would address it there and then, okay? There's no point of you getting to all the way to the end of the call to then break that objection if you've already noticed it, because there's two positive scenarios out of the first, out of what I just did there. The one is, they end up saying that, yeah, they will need to talk to their partner about it. They're not going to make a decision. And if you're smart, you would tell them, okay, why don't we rebook another call where your partner is there? Okay. And some people will agree to that. Some people say no. And you'll just make it into a first part call where you don't reveal too much. You don't reveal the price. You leave it on a good note. You keep it shorter so you don't waste as much time. And then you come back and you have that second call when they go over it with their partner. You can give them little clues towards the price, make them go over with the partner, and then come back to do it again. Okay. Or you rebook it with their partner. That's the first positive solution, because what happens is you don't waste time. You don't waste time. Okay. And that's the best number one asset. My number one asset in my life is my time. Okay. The second outcome and scenario that could happen is that you address the objection and you get them to really see that it doesn't make sense for them to go and talk to their partner. Like, does your partner know about this? Okay, cool. So they're supportive of it. They know about that you're having this conversation. What do you need to really clarify with them? And how I go on and object it, the things I say, that's subjective, right? But what's more important is how I say it. Because it's early on, because I'm addressing it there and then, my tolerance levels are still high. So I have that patience and I can think rationally and talk to this person in a good way, where I'm asking certain questions to invoke them to think certain things, versus me telling them that, oh, why do you want to talk to your partner, and being a bit rude, which sounds funny, but most salespeople will take the other way. They take the other route. They don't address things. They wait to the end. And by that point in time, they're frustrated and they just burn the lead. Okay. You have to use ethical confrontation. And here's the bonus of this. You use ethical confrontation in every instance. All right. You use it not only when you spot a red flag, but when somebody, red flags can be in all shapes and forms. Somebody tells me, if I'm talking to someone about weight loss, right? Or let's say cars, let's say I'm selling a car and I'm talking to them, and, I ask them, what they're driving right now, and they sound pretty happy and confident about it. I say, no, I just drive like an old Fiat. This is a 2008, but I'm happy with it. It does the job. It takes me where I need to go, right? And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, you guy, that you're not too happy with that Fiat. What are you talking about? Of course, you're not really happy with a Fiat, right? This is just me objective. This is just using an example. Got nothing against Fiats, cars, whatever car you want to drive what you want to drive, right? But if I'm a salesperson and I just leave that and let that slide, it's going to come up at the end when I'm trying to close the deal with the car, because they're going to say, you know what? I might just go with my Fiat. I'm just going to do it. It's not done yet, whatever. But if I address it there and then, I said, okay, so you're happy with the Fiat. What are you happy with? You generally happy when you jump in it? It makes you feel good. And I was like, no, I'm not saying it makes me feel good, but it's okay. It's okay. So you're okay. You're not happy with it. Okay. What are you not happy with then? Why don't you go into the car and feel happy when you jump in? Because it's a nice experience, right? When UK things are tough, life, I won't use that actually. I don't like to say things are tough and talk negatively, but it's good to have things in your day that make you happy. So what is it that doesn't? And there you go. Bingo. Okay. I've addressed it there and then, and I already start to set and warm this person up for the close at the end. Okay. That is ethical confrontation. So listen, if this has been valuable for you, then all you can do for us, and as a little payback, just a tiny little payback, will be to just make sure you subscribe, you drop a little comment, let us know what you like, what sort of content that you want to come from us. Make sure you go follow us on all our social media platforms, and we'll be back soon to give you some more value. Peace.